Bonjour! I am running out of ways to say hello, but there are a lot of languages. Welcome to Show to V with Mike G, the show of college, the show of life. And today is an interesting one. I talked to Alex Shoemaker from the Roosevelt Room. I don't think Alex expected he would be in the realm of mixology or coctology. I think that he was destined for a different, more academic path, like a lot of us are, but there's that thing that triggers in our mind at one point, and everything lines up, and then we realize where our true passions lie. So this is a great chat with Alex from the Roosevelt Room. I hope you enjoy it.
In my mind, it's like some of the most
crazy
beautiful artwork I've ever seen.
Well, so what? Were you a Nintendo kid? Were you a PlayStation kid?
No, we started off with a Nintendo.
Standard NES, right?
Yeah, just a Famicom, just like standard NES, basic stuff.
When was? Because you're just like a little bit young. Well, maybe profoundly younger than me.
I'm 28.
Sure. 28. Yeah, that's not too bad. I mean, if you actually had an original NES, I got to give you credit for that because it was past that.
Oh yeah, I mean, we were always behind the times in my household.
Yeah,
always. We were.
Why? For us, it was money. I mean, I don't know if it was the same for you guys.
I think my dad, bless his heart, has always been. He didn't get. Let me put it this way: he didn't buy himself a new car until I was almost 21 years old.
No kidding.
Yeah, for the first time in his life, he had a brand new car.
Was it like everybody else first and then him, or was it just that the money wasn't there to do it?
It was always like secondhand. So
gotcha.
Yeah, so it was always buy things like 2 or 3 years later because you can get yourself a good deal on it. You know, so we ended up, I think, with an NES pretty late, and then I remember him. I think he actually bought the Super Nintendo like 3 years later, and I think it was a second hand that he got it at like a used game shop.
When N64 was already out and stuff like that.
Yeah. 64 is. I don't think we ever had a 60. I think my brother bought a 64 when he was in college, secondhand.
Yeah.
I think the only one we ever got, like when it came out, was PlayStation.
Which is like a game changer, no pun intended, right?
Yeah, it was absolutely mind blowing.
What is it about? Because it's kind of different now. I feel like everything's so super connected game wise that you lose a little bit of what that was, that intimate Saturday afternoon you had to have with your NES. You know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, do you have? I've got a specific moment that comes to mind for me, but is there anything on the NES where like there was this epic day ... where you were playing NES, or this epic night ... where you're playing NES?
I mean, there was, to be honest, there was a lot of that.
Yeah,
there was a lot of that. I was fortunate enough to grow up in this, I mean, absolute like sprawling neighborhood in the Woodlands, Texas.
In Woodlands? Shit, I didn't know you're from Woodlands.
Yeah, well, so from Pittsburgh, spent some time in Delaware, but in 89 or 90, we moved to the Woodlands.
No kidding.
And we were there until 1999.
Okay.
But absolutely just a sprawling neighborhood. And there was probably 10 kids within 2 or 3 years of my brother and I.
So you're 28. How old's your older brother or younger brother?
Older brother.
Yeah, how old's your youngest
brother? He's 4.5 years older than me.
So early 30s, dude.
Yeah, he's 32.
Is he in the industry as well? Does some other stuff?
No, he's in. He works for. What's the name of the company? They're social media marketing and advertising. They call them like community managers. They're out of Austin here.
No, I can't remember but does he live here? Or is he still...
They're here, which is actually why I ended up moving back here.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
when it was like GDS&M or GSD&M. I always
actually, my sister-in-law is a copywriter for them, though.
No kidding.
Yeah, they're both in that industry.
In the industry.
Yeah.
Well, so then that kind of begs a good question. So I didn't know about the Woodlands. You know, we've kind of met touch and go through a couple people. Obviously, Dennis being one who I think's quote unquote your boss at this point. But so where did you grow up? So you talk about Pittsburgh, you talk about Woodlands. Where did you start? Where was Alex born, if you will?
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
How long did you live there?
We were there for, probably less than a year.
Oh, not much.
Not much.
Do you remember it at all?
Not at all, really. Yeah. We went back and visited, and I really have absolutely no recollection. Mm-hmm. But my remembrance begins probably in I would say probably 1991 or 2 in the Woodlands. Mm-hmm. And those were the real formative years of my life for sure.
Was it still built out? Was it because now it's like a complex almost?
Oh God, yeah.
Was it that big?
It was planned. It's always been planned. Yeah. It's a planned community. It started out. I think we moved there. And it was 22,000 people.
Okay.
When we left 10 years later, it was 55,000 people.
That's insane.
And now I want to say it's close to 100,000 about 15 years later.
Yeah, I'll hit a couple shows at Cynthia Woods every now and again, once a year, and it just is gets bigger and bigger. Because I'm from Houston. I lived in Katy.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
just on the street.
School. Yeah, for sure. And so what were your parents doing in Houston, in Woodlands? What caused you guys to move?
So we were, he was working for an independent contractor when we were living in Pittsburgh. He's a hydrogeological engineer.
Did he work for
mouthful?
Oil?
No, actually, all of his classmates ended up going out and working for big oil, and all of them lost their jobs.
No kidding.
And that would have been in the 70s when there was the big oil crash.
Right.
And he went for the remediation route. He went for almost the polar opposite direction.
No kidding.
So he's always preached the environmentally conscious point of view.
Oh, that's great. I mean, which wasn't popular then necessarily.
No, not at all.
Now it's a huge thing.
Not at all. Yeah.
So has he found a bit of a break career-wise now?
Oh, yeah. So he left that independent contractor, and we moved to Delaware because he got hired by DuPont.
Okay.
And then DuPont transferred him out to the office in the Woodlands, or in Houston. He was out
Pittsburgh
in Cypress.
to Delaware to Woodlands.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, we were in Delaware for maybe all of 6 months.
Oh, so not much.
6 months or a year. We were. I was actually talking with my brother about it last night. I have no remembrance of this at all. But
do people in Delaware remember being in Delaware?
Yeah, I know, right?
I don't know that they do.
I don't know if it's automatic,
offense, right?
If it's automatically PTSD, you forget about it. It's all over.
Do you remember Wayne's World? So they made.
Yeah.
They made.
Yeah, actually,
they traveled to Delaware, and all of a sudden it's Delaware.
Yeah. We're in Hawaii.
Nothing notable there, right?
Delaware.
So he is, which is awesome, environmentally sound, makes his ways to the Woodlands, which is your mom also kind of that green counterpart to him, or is she doing some other stuff?
No, I mean she was at the house.
Yeah.
She took care of the family.
Awesome.
She did a great job. Yeah, love that woman to death.
You guys pretty close then, I imagine.
We weren't for the first 2/3 of my life, probably.
What was it? Did you grow a beard particularly young, and that caused some punk space between?
Auto angst. Yeah, kicked in at about 15 when I started shaving.
That's right.
Yeah, but she and I think I was 6 weeks premature. 6 weeks premature.
Gotcha.
And I spent a lot of time in and out of the hospital, and she seems to think our relationship was strained because she was the one who was taking me to the hospital all the time.
Oh, no kidding.
So that's what she thinks.
Yeah.
But we just have totally different world views, I think.
And
the way that we do things, the way that we look at things is very different. Which as a teenager is really annoying.
Sure.
But as an adult,
you kind of come to appreciate it.
It's refreshing. I really the way that she looks at my dad always has been a little bit more my way or the highway about stuff.
Right.
But my mother was always like, whatever you want, however you want to do it, we support you.
Totally
we love you,
flexible.
Totally flexible on everything.
That's so good.
Except for when she asks you to take out the trash, if it takes 5 minutes or longer, she's down your throat about it. So that's. But my dad.
Do you guys have that can crusher too in the garage? That was a Houston thing. I remember.
No, we never had one. But there was so much Coke, and it was. I mean, Coke. I say Coke because Coke means Sprite.
Yeah,
Coke means Dr. Pepper.
Yeah,
root beer, whatever.
So I was saying because I lived up in Salt Lake, I lived in Detroit, and we were saying pop.
Really?
So I come down here, and people are like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Yeah,
Oh, because everything's a Coke.
When we moved to North Carolina. When I was about 13, it was the same thing.
So Woodlands to North Carolina.
Yep.
Same industry. I guess it was for your dad's work.
Yeah,
again.
Working for DuPont. Yeah. We ended up taking over the office in Charlotte.
Oh, cool.
Got a great promotion, I believe, is what moved us up there.
Yeah. So do you stick long in Charlotte?
Yeah, we were there. My folks are still in the same house.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we were there. I was there for collectively 13 years or so.
Till your mid-20s, I guess? Something like that?
Yeah. I moved off to... I took the sabbatical.
The sabbatical. Well, so real quick, so so it was high school in Charlotte then?
Middle school. We moved between 5th and 6th grade.
Okay.
My brother was between sophomore year and junior year of high school, so that was real rough for him, I think.
Dude, it's really tough. I've been there. Bad. Yeah, it's really tough.
But my older sister had graduated and been at University of Dallas for a year. So,
how old is she?
She's 2 years older than my brother.
So like 34, 7 years older than you?
35.
Yeah.
35, I want to say.
So she'd already kind of been past that stuff. So you get implanted for middle school and high school, which is, that's rough because
hard.
You don't even know, at least for me, I didn't even know who I was yet. And make it more confusing by tossing me in a place where I have no idea of the social structure of things.
Yeah, and the social structure was totally different in Charlotte than it was in the Woodlands.
What would you say is different about it?
I mean, for the first time, I'm like, the Woodlands is incredibly affluent. Incredibly affluent.
A lot of money.
Incredibly whitewashed, for lack of a better
homogenous.
Phrase.
There's not a lot of minorities, frankly.
There's really not. Exactly. Homogenous is much better much better way of saying
whitewashed. Whitewashed. I've never heard that. Man.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty. You're looking at a predominantly white community, and then you go to Charlotte, North Carolina, in the New South.
Yeah,
and you've got crosstown busing going on. And you've got demographics that you're going to school with that you've never really had much contact with, which is awesome. It was mind blowing for me. You know what I mean?
Pot, you know,
it's mind blowing to me. But for the first time, I'm seeing like Confederate flags flying off the backs of trucks, and I'm like, this is still a thing, you know? Like,
right. Did it weigh heavy? Was it something like even that was palpable in the air that you could feel like this tension, this racial tension?
Yeah. I mean, because just a couple of years later, they declared forced desegregation unconstitutional.
Really?
Yeah. That was not even that many. I want to say that was when I was in the 8th grade or so.
No way.
Yeah, so they quit crosstown busing at that point.
That's insane.
And I noticed a distinct change in the feel of the schools at that point.
Really? What can you kind of describe what that change might have felt like?
Yeah, I mean, it was just the kids. I mean, because we lived in way South Charlotte, which is fairly homogenous, easy,
like suburbia kind of
suburbia.
Thing?
Yeah, I mean, it was very similar to the Woodlands,
right?
But yeah, it felt more like what I had been already experiencing.
Gotcha. Okay.
Which
it went back. It went from maybe what is like a rich multicultural school to going back to how it was
in the Woodlands. Exactly.
Yeah, that's interesting. So it was like you said about 8th, 9th grade, something like that.
Yeah, it was probably 7th or 8th grade. So I didn't really get to experience that for a very long time.
Yeah.
But when I did, through the time that I did, it was awesome.
That's cool.
It was really awesome.
So how was this high school experience for you? I mean, it's always different for us. I moved around a bunch. Like we moved around. Not only that, but I moved in my junior year of high school too. And I get tossed into Katy in your junior. I mean, it's just like
was that from Detroit as well?
No, it's from Salt Lake. So it's like
wow, you
talk about a nice, great education program coming to Texas.
Yeah,
that was a very, very big shift.
I mean, Conroe Independent School District was great compared to Charlotte Mecklenburg schools, which is all done by this like almost politically driven overseeing. So you've got this. That you've got your school superintendent or whatever, but you have all these folks who are essentially just like overactive parents running the program
helicopter
in Charlotte.
Parents.
Yeah. And it was awful relative to the Woodlands.
Right. It feels like you were
rich, and there was lots of art. And,
exactly.
They started band in the 5th grade, and they were like banning that in Charlotte at the time because nobody wanted to spend money on it.
That's insane.
Because everybody wanted to spend money on sports.
Oh, it's sports.
But
right.
yeah.
So what was that path like then for you? Was it, when you're talking about being in school, were you the art kid? Were you the sports kid?
I was.
I
was all over. I just took on too much.
Yeah.
I was definitely not the academic child.
Yeah.
I never really struggled with grades. I just never really concentrated.
Was it even interesting to you?
It was not.
Yeah.
It wasn't at all. I mean, I'm an Eagle Scout, so I was doing that at the time.
Yeah. Well, how about that? That seems like a kind of a cool use of skills at least.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah. That was something that my dad and I shared for a very long time. I mean, once a week we had a meeting. Once a month we went on a camping trip.
Yeah,
we did
awesome.
that for 10 years.
Yeah, it's beautiful and outside or in North Carolina, right?
Oh, God, yeah. It was beautiful. I mean, you go to the mountains, you go to the beach, you had the Piedmont area in between. Just, you couldn't ask for a better state.
But academia wasn't really your
not my thing. No. And then in the meantime, I was also a year-round swimmer, so I was doing like 9 practices a week. At one point.
That's insane.
So I was doing 2 practices a day, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday I was doing a practice and like an hour-long dryland practice.
No kidding.
So that was taking up a lot of my energy as well.
So that was where your efforts to become an Olympic swimmer began.
No joke though. I mean it was there was a kid, a grown man now. There was a guy named Ricky Behrens who actually went to UT, who I swam with regularly at Mac, who I trained with, who was 2-time Olympian. Yeah.
No kidding. That's insane.
Gold medal winner.
Was that something on your radar at all? That maybe the swimming thing would turn into something?
Yeah. Definitely.
Was it?
Yeah. I mean, I was in the top ranks at times, not consistently enough, but at times to where I probably could have ended up with a scholarship to a university.
That's crazy.
But going into my sophomore year of high school or so, probably going into my sophomore year, I crashed, just absolutely burnt out.
Got burnt totally.
Totally.
Yeah.
There's a big jump going from like the 11, 12, 13, 14 range in training style going to the 15 through 18 range.
Okay. In terms of like the skill level and how it is competitively?
In terms of you're 15 years old and you're swimming with 18-year-olds at practice.
Right.
And you're talking a big difference in physiology at that point and like mental stability and emotional stability. And when you're spending that much time getting yelled at by a coach and you're 15 years old.
Is it just, what's the word? Does it just break you down?
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's what it's supposed to do. They're weeding out, they're kind of,
like the military, right? Absolutely.
It's so.
So where did you go? So you get burnt out with the swimming because that's a lot of nine practices plus some dry. I mean that's a lot.
Yeah, it was dedication. Awful. I was in great shape, and so I continued with sports. I played rugby for a season at my high school. There was a club. It was basically just like a bunch of dudes running around. Tackling each other,
right? But still to this day, there's many unofficial rugby.
It was a lot of fun though. The guys on the team were a lot of fun. Those were the guys who were drinking heavily even in high school.
Yeah.
So
you have to. That's where rugby was born.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's a phrase that I heard somewhere recently from a rugby player that was something like. Soccer or football is a gentleman's is a hooligan sport played by it's the other way around.
A gentleman's sport played by hooligans?
The idea it's a gentleman's sport played by hooligans. The other way around, rugby is a hooligan sport played by gentlemen.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. That's a lot better.
Yeah.
Letting loose just for after the pub lets out.
Yeah, but as soon as you get going afterwards.
Yeah.
That's where the hooligan comes out. But the minute you're on the field, it's all you're talking about 200 plus pound guys.
For sure, brute
force.
But there's some manners to it. Some sophistication.
There's a lot of manners to it. Yeah. It's almost militaristic in a way, the way that they plan moving the lines. It's almost like looking at a battle. It's really interesting the way that the plays are laid out.
So what's the next step? Because it's just a club. Obviously, in the States, where it's not a huge thing. There's not a lot of leagues.
Our team went to the national conference that year, which was a lot of fun in Dallas. I didn't get to go to that. I wasn't on the A side.
Oh, gotcha.
I wasn't on the A side, so I was like, well, I'm not used to not being good at something, so I'm going to quit that too. So I end up going to this high school that my brother went to that was really focused in the arts and choir and theater and band, musically
all the
speaking.
good stuff, man.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So
where'd you find yourself? Did you find yourself as a singer or an actor?
Both.
Both.
Yeah.
No
all
kidding.
of the above. Yeah. I ended up, I did choir all 4 years. Did chamber choir for the last 2 years.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. It was
Did you end up taking
very
that?
serious.
I love that's when all that stuff really happens. It bubbles up. So you start to find your voice literally.
Yeah. Literally.
Did you start taking that and maybe writing and singing? Do you play any instruments to accompany that?
No, I did some. I did music theory AP.
Oh, okay.
I guess that would have been my senior year. So I learned the theory behind playing several instruments, but I never really picked up anything. I always felt kind of awkward with it in my hands. I don't the guitar.
It just didn't feel natural.
Yeah, my brother played guitar, and it just never felt natural to me. Piano felt a little bit more natural, but for some reason, singing was always
your way to do it.
Yeah, that was how I managed to express myself.
Did you feel like music was an eye-opening thing, that you finally got what the world was about? Because that's how music was for me, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
It was never mine for me, and I don't care how trite that may be. But once my mom listened to that record, because she was always really deeply interested in what I was listening to, she goes, "Oh yeah, I like it." But that record changed my life, and that's what made me realize that I think I'm gonna write songs now. So what did music open up for you?
Oh man. I mean, first off, my relationship with my father is we've always been really, really close, and music has always played a huge part in that.
A way for you guys to bond.
Yeah, and my brother and I as well.
Sure,
but in two very different styles,
different genres.
Yeah. And two
what
very
are
different ways.
You and your dad like? What's that band that you guys?
So I mean, my mom used to listen to the worst stuff. I love her, but she listened to the worst stuff.
Like what?
Oh gosh. I can't even, like the Amy Grant Christmas record, and like God. July, she'd be playing that, you know?
It's so pleasant, but too pleasant. It's way too pleasant.
But in like, I think that record came out probably in like 1997. Yeah, but in like 2010, and she's still playing that record in like July, she's like nailing all the notes. She's still killing it. But that was who she was. She liked what she liked.
That's good though. That's great.
But my dad, however, like my mom, if my dad would play a record and it was too loud, which is to say that we could barely hear it.
Right, but she's like, guys, can you turn it down? It's too loud.
I can just hear her screaming at us. So we almost never played music in the house. So when she'd leave, my dad and I would he'd be like, all right, let's put this. I still remember the first time he played Dark Side of the Moon.
Oh, wow.
And that cash register chinging as it fades in, and me just being like absolutely mesmerized by that. It's like some of those moments were so wonderful to me.
Yeah.
Playing that record, cleaning the house with my dad. Because that's how he always convinced me to clean the house, was him playing like music I'd never heard before.
What better way, though?
Yeah.
That's Pink Floyd's obviously great to bond with.
So Pink Floyd, I mean, just listening to David Gilmour play guitar, I still...
Oh, Dave Gilmour, man.
Yeah, man.
The solo from Comfortably Numb is one of the best solos ever, top 10 ever. Makes me, you can almost come to tears just thinking about that solo. It's insane.
Yeah, so...
But that's what he kind of came from, that kind of classic rock stuff.
So actually, what pushing it even a little bit further, his relationship with my grandfather was very, very similar, but based in very different music. So I actually pirated some of his, I kind of copped a few of those vinyls, but
nice.
But there was a number of amazing, I really don't even know when they were pressed, copies of like some Wagner and Debussy.
Yes, romantic period.
Oh yeah, just like some really, really amazing romantic and impressionistic era.
That classical. Is. You think about, because I try to frame it. Billy Hankey was in here the other night. And so Billy loves Baroque music.
Oh, yeah.
Which, for a guy that's so tall and kind of overwhelming, you would not believe it, right? So
I guess I can believe that, because he's so soft-spoken.
I still can't believe it. It's like it being into Handel and Mozart and stuff.
Well, I mean, I get it. I get it. It's sort of, he's like the original rock star. You know what I mean?
No, it's a great point. So you frame, now you think about Wagner, obviously Apocalypse Now using it, the Lohengrin, the Bridal March, like all these kinds of things, and Debussy, which is my personal favorite.
Absolutely, me as well.
Absolutely. Clair de Lune, despite how much it's played, is still the most beautiful piece of composition ever committed. But you think, like, if you frame it, that these guys were performing this stuff, much like Britney Spears is performing in Vegas.
Yeah.
Right? Like it was the pop music of the time.
Right.
And it feels like we've lost our complete sense of emotional context and our depth as people. If you go and just listen to the two,
just using music as a marker. You're absolutely
my
right.
God. What a de-evolution, right?
Yeah.
It's insane. So,
but it's there. It's there.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not in pop music.
But you're right. It's
there.
Yeah.
It's there for sure with guys like, I'm sorry. Can't remember his name, from the Mountain Goats.
The Mountain Goats. Yeah.
I mean, the lyrical content in his music is amazing. My girlfriend has a particular fascination with Elliott Smith.
Oh, geez.
These guys who just are like absolutely, every ounce of their music is grounded in their emotion.
So here's an interesting thing about Elliott Smith, and this is an amazing thing. So at my day job, if you will, there was a new person that came in. Her name was Ashley. And we were talking on chat, right? We're tech companies, so we're talking on chat. And I said, yeah, I've been working on this new record. I'm being like kind of depressive and stuff, as I probably was like in the early 20s. I'm like, really what I want to do is just finish this record and then just off myself. Like that's like Nick Drake style, even though that was kind of incidental or accidental. And she goes, oh yeah, that's something. It's like, that's what my brother did. And I was like, wait, what?
No way.
And I go, he must have been a musician? She's like, yeah. And we go and we're talking a little bit more context. She's like, yeah, my brother was Elliott Smith.
Oh, God.
And we're talking about suicide.
And you're like, bad jokes, man.
Well, it wasn't a joke, but who the fuck am I to talk about that?
Really?
And it turned out that was his stepsister, and we talked about Elliott Smith and stuff.
Man, that must have been an eye-opening conversation.
It makes you feel so stupid for even humoring the idea.
Yeah.
When you talk about Elliott Smith and having made at least 3 of the greatest records ever made, and
probably
at least, right? EXO
for that style, for sure.
Figure Eight, even Roman Candle and the first self-titled, it's like still heartbreaking stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you going back to the classical bit, so was that's also really influential? It moved you to be more interested in music? Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's where I get my bass fascination in music. It's always been like that between he and I. His homepage at our home computer is still Pitchfork Media. The guy listens to like online Canadian indie rock stations.
Amazing.
And NPR. And
KEXP's greatest contributor. Yeah. How's he feel about the Condé Nast purchase?
Yeah, right.
That'd be funny if he calls like, Alex, holy shit, did you hear this? The guys representing the guys from Entourage bought Pitchfork. Yeah. It's a interesting day.
Yeah. I mean, but he stays up on that stuff.
That's so great.
He came out for Austin Psych Fest this year.
No shit. Did you see the Zombies?
No, we didn't.
Tame Impala this year too, right?
Yeah, we saw Tame Impala. We did the OCs, which I think was his favorite set.
That's incredible.
Spiritualized was amazing.
Oh,
Speaking of classic, great
rock,
music.
Right?
Yeah. But yeah.
That's killer, man. So did that motivate you to get more involved with it, or was it just this source of inspiration for you?
So, no, I think I've always, as he's always been, just an avid fan, just an avid listener.
Yeah.
Constantly seeking out new stuff. And my brother's the exact same way. The stuff that he likes is very different than the stuff that my dad likes.
It's different genre.
I mean, Dad grew up and he likes Todd Rundgren and Nas and like all of these really amazing old school psych-oriented musicians and
King Crimson.
Oh God, King Crimson. I still remember the first time he played 21st Century Schizoid Man.
Yeah.
Just like absolutely blew my mind. And I had this moment where I blew his mind when I showed him
Bad Religion's
Fuzz's cover, because he actually came up to Raleigh when I was living there and saw Ty Segall play with us.
No kidding.
Which is awesome. Like that was
Wait. So Ty Segall play with us?
Oh no, I'm sorry. He came up to see Ty Segall play.
Okay. Oh, with you? Yeah, okay.
with me.
I was like, when did the rock stardom happen for you, Alex?
No, I did have a moment though when I was 24 where I was singing backup with a few buddies of mine, band in Charlotte, and we got to open for Matt and Kim, so that was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
but that was like my biggest rock star moment.
That's still a great rock star moment.
That was a lot of fun.
Bret Michaels called me on the couch one day.
Yeah,
talking about his diabetes.
Yeah.
No shit. Absolutely happened.
Just like
There's a good story there, but that just we'll just frame it that way. That I told him I had to call him back because I wanted to take a nap. That's
how you cut the call off with Brett Michaels.
Even in Texas, even in the early 2000s.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So what the music piece? It's I think we'll find that in the industry. I'm just going to use this kind of ominous term, right? The industry that. Many people, you talk about Chris Bostic, who's into drama. Jason Cosmos was just in here. Jason was an art guy. Like, everybody comes from, in some sense, some kind of creation, and it's amazing. Whether it's music, art, acting, So, what was the gateways? You mentioned this time, like when you get out of college, you took a sabbatical. Did you end up, or excuse me, when you got out of high school, you took a sabbatical. Did you end up going to college? Was it not like the right thing for you?
Oh no, I went to. So I took actually only about a year off before I started, and I kind of dipped my toes in. I took like a French class or something about a year later and was like, maybe I'll go back. And so I did 2 years at a community college in Charlotte called CPCC, which is like 55,000 students. It's gigantic for a community college. I think it's the largest in the country.
No kidding.
But yeah, so I did 2 years there, and I had a number of really good friends who lived in Raleigh up at NC State, North Carolina State University. And my brother was going to Chapel Hill at the time. So I was frequently visiting the university up there. Right. And I had grown extremely tired of working dead-end jobs for other people.
Sure.
Just working hours beyond hours and not really seeing any reward for it.
Yeah, no fruit of the labor.
Yeah. So I decided to apply. And I had a 4.0 actually coming out of CPCC. For the first time in my life, I've realized the value of actually studying hard.
4.0, man.
Yeah, and seeing reaping that reward. So I ended up transferring to NC State, and I transfer in, and my relationship with my father being the most important thing, I transfer in as an environmental technology major.
No way.
Yeah, so
in his footsteps.
In his footsteps, yeah. So I ended up taking one economics course about 2 years later, and I fall in love with it absolutely.
Economics,
unequivocally, just head over heels, fall in love with this.
What was it about? The structure, the numbers?
Yeah, the structure. I mean, but the theory, the philosophical and sociological impacts of studying economics were what really wound me up. What I really got my kicks out of.
Interesting, yeah.
So, and I blame this one professor for that. He was a great guy. He had pictures of Alfa Romeos all over his office walls. He was an awesome dude.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Laissez-faire.
I mean, the kind of guy who quoted Kanye West in his lectures.
No way.
Yeah, but still like 65 years old. Yeah, he's an awesome guy.
In touch.
Yeah, but he was a great guy. I blame him absolutely for kind of
that shift.
Yeah, for taking control of the ship. And shifting me over from that to economics. So,
but did you? So, how did that end out?
So I ended up kind of incorporating both. I did I took a statistics course that was predominantly focused in environmental statistics. So I ended up concentrating on utility.
Okay.
The concept of utility.
Not utilities.
Well, utilities, actually. The concept of I guess basing utility operation in sound economics. And how optimizing this actually helps to aid in a more environmentally friendly utility.
So the intersection
for the nation, for the country, for the world, really, actually cutting costs and producing a cheaper unit of energy for everybody at the exact same time.
While also having the wonderful benefits of being good for the world.
Right, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's kind of a threefold thing. You get cheaper energy, you get cleaner energy, you get more. I mean, you get more energy at that point.
Well, that's a huge shift. It seems like I if I was a betting man, I couldn't bet that that's where you would have ended up.
No, me either. Yeah, absolutely, me either. And
where did it take you? Where did it take you? I mean, how far did you go with it?
I didn't. I graduated, and I actually interviewed for a job with the legislature out here in Austin, Texas.
In Austin, oh.
Yeah. I mean, so when I graduated, my brother called me up and he was like, yeah, you know, I know you're probably tired of North Carolina at this point. Why don't you move out here?
I'm tired of hearing about it already.
God, seriously, it's absolutely
enough already.
Politically speaking, it's the worst, but I didn't exactly move away from it. I kind of moved into just a larger version of it than Texas. But at any rate, so he...
Well, Austin at least is an oasis.
Right, and Raleigh was too.
Was it?
Raleigh was too. The Triangle is very similar to Austin.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of education.
Yeah, gotcha.
Really speaks volumes about the people living in the area. But at any rate...
So he calls you out. He's like, "Is it a good opportunity for you? Like for legislation here? Is that right?"
To the legislature. Flew out here, interviewed, and I'm like, "Yeah, I got this job. I got it. It's in the bag."
When was this, by the way?
This was in September of last year.
Oh, so recent. September of 2014.
2014.
It's just over a year ago.
Just over a year ago. Yeah, actually, I had my year anniversary about 2 days ago.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Because you seem firmly entrenched in the culture for what is less than really 12 months being here.
And I really blame Justin and Dennis.
I'm sure those guys, I blame them for a lot of things.
They reached out real quickly. I actually met them both in December, so shortly after I moved here.
Yeah, only a few months.
Only a few months.
So, but you said in the interview you felt good about it?
Yeah, I felt great. Yeah, to
dial it, bring it back.
Yeah. I felt great about it, and never got a phone call. Not even a denial.
Sorry, we
not even a sorry.
Else.
Hey, like, you know, there was I think what ended up happening was there was a huge population of graduating lawyers.
Oh yeah.
Who they had better credentials than I did at that point, even though it was like a $32,000 a year job, and you're not really even using your law degree, and blah blah. Yeah, at any rate,
but still, you were outmanned.
I was outmanned. Yeah.
So how'd you feel about what may be some level of certainty that you got the gig, or at least like had a great chance at getting it?
Yeah, it felt bad.
Yeah,
honestly, it felt kind of bad.
Yeah. Why? So what does one do with that negative kind of like fuck the legislature?
Yeah, I mean, I was like, I don't really want to work for you guys anyway.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
work for the opposite of that. So
I realized I kind of had this crisis. It was a real short one.
Yeah,
it was maybe all of like 6 weeks long, but I had this crisis. I was like, now I don't know what to do. I was kind of bitter about it. I didn't really. I had no direction. I was like, well, is this really what I want to be doing?
Right.
And then I realized, well, I've been craft bartending all the way through college.
So was that even? Because it feels like a footnote to the career, right?
It does.
For the college career. That
it does.
Oh wait, this whole time you've been craft bartending,
right? And I got my start at a spot called Foundation in Raleigh, which is probably my favorite bar of all time. Yeah,
gotta go then. I have
cozy,
to check it out.
Super cozy. They were the first spot in town to be like running a syrup program. You know what I mean? Like to be making their own syrups in house, and it being like we're gonna make a ginger soda that we're gonna make in house. We're gonna do a cinnamon syrup. We're gonna do raspberry syrup in house, framboise in house.
So
people ate it up. Yeah, people ate it up. They loved it. I love it. I still do. I look back on that very fondly. They had about 75 whiskeys on the shelf.
Wow.
It was predominantly it was domestic only there.
Even
so
better.
We had one gin, one vodka, one rum, and 75
bourbons.
American whiskeys.
Basically bourbons.
Basically bourbons.
Yeah, we'll say. Which actually is a wonderful, because I always try to tie back to the bottle that we pick for this conversation. For those of the people that can't see what we're doing, beyond just chatting, we're of course sipping a wonderful bottle. And this particular one is the Old Forester Birthday Bourbon from 2013. This is 13, actually, which is a brilliant year.
It is.
Yeah, kicking it back to bourbon. You know?
It really is.
And the 15's out really soon, and it is just exceptional. So it'd be kind of to take a little brief tangent. Is bourbon your thing?
Forever and always. Yeah.
Why? What is it?
I think
that's the dumbest question ever, because it's self-evident in bourbon why it's great. But
and I think the reason why it is for most people is because just the situation surrounding your first taste.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of people, it's a romantic spirit.
It is,
and I think we think about it that way in terms of our histories. So for me, I was living in Raleigh. All of my buddies who I had moved up there for had graduated, moved away, and I get this job at Foundation, and for the first time, I feel like I'm a part of a thing.
That's so great.
And I'm learning all about bourbon at the same time.
Yeah.
So I think about bourbon as being like the start of my adult life.
Sure. The thing that brought you into it.
The thing that brought me into what I love doing.
Was there one that you kept going back to in those first months?
Weller 12.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's weeded.
Who wouldn't?
It's weeded, and it's soft, and it's easygoing and delicious and beautiful. And this is before I think they start. They switched up the distilling style.
Mm-hmm. Was this pre-Buffalo Trace? Well, Buffalo Trace been doing it a bit now.
Yeah.
But you really don't get much more beautiful than Weller 12.
And it was cheap too.
Yeah.
Relative to the other stuff that was on the shelf.
Even though people find it as the pappy killer, right? That they can't get that bottle and they go and get it.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant way to actually, like, you class up the joint. If that's where you start. What's like, well, I started watching movies, but I only watched Godard. Who is this Spielberg you're talking about?
Right, exactly.
It's a pretty high echelon,
Yeah.
So then you're doing this thing, this craft bartending thing, understanding how to make syrups. I probably understanding how to make bitters, just understanding fundamentally what ingredients are.
Right.
There's some element of performing in that too, right? Like rock star-ishness,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that always came to me really easily. My mom tells everybody that I've ever dated about this story about me winking at a flight attendant or something at like the age of 3. Yeah. And
you guys are now married, right?
That's how the story is. Jordan, I love you. I'm sorry, but I'm married to that flight attendant.
But she felt like maybe you had the licks for it.
Yeah. I loved it. I loved feeling like I was on stage and the dramatic lighting and more than anything, I think it was making people's nights, just making other people have a good time, helping other people have a good time. I'd never really done much hosting before. Mm-hmm. I had been a table server before that, and I'd done that for a long time, and I loved that. But there's something
different, right?
There's something so much more rewarding about simultaneously putting together this product in front of somebody and talking to them and learning about them and sharing this experience mutually with them.
Right.
And I think that's what has always drawn me to this business.
So is that what it made it easy to say, well, the straight and path, the straight and narrow job with the legislature, shit, well, it just didn't work out. Yeah. So what was that thought then? It's like, well, I'm going to go and see how this works for doing craft stuff in Austin.
Absolutely. I mean, it was kind of a last ditch. I was like, well, if this doesn't work out, I don't know what's going to, but I had this drive in the back of my head that said that this is, I was like, I'm going to see how it goes, but if I've studied economics and I understand business fairly well,
right? It's hardly that different.
It's business. I mean, it is a business, but I love doing this aspect of this business. Why can't I combine the two things?
Sure.
And then I meet Justin and Dennis.
Where'd you meet them by
I think I met Justin for the first time at Half Step.
Oh,
at Half Step.
Yeah, I walked
up
over there,
and Alex Flynn, who actually worked with me at Foundation, who I blame for my love affair with spirits.
Is he still back in?
No, he's in Asheville now.
Okay.
He's a Bar 5 grad, actually.
Oh, man.
He did the Bar 5 course with Dennis last year.
Oh, yeah. I remember when he passed.
Yeah.
It's interesting hearing the war stories there.
Yeah.
My palate was fatigued.
Yeah.
I mean, in all fairness, it was probably sincerely fatigued.
Yeah, I haven't done the course yet. I plan on it this year. But God, I mean, you're talking about 5 days of 12 hours worth of tasting and talking about booze and thinking about booze, and then you go and you sit in a room with I can't remember, it's like 20 tastings or something ridiculous.
A whole lot, yeah.
And after 5, I can't even imagine
getting fatigued.
But
real
the other
fast.
15,
sure.
After a week of doing this
and being articulate about it,
and struggling, I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
But
so you met Justin.
I met Justin. Alex sent me his way. He said, "Hey man, you should really go check out this bar.
Right.
There's a really phenomenal bartender there named Justin. He was working back at the house at the Bar 5, and I walk up to the bar and lo and behold, Justin's standing right there, and I'm like, hey man, my buddy Alex sent me your way. Let's chat. Like let's just. I mean, he and I had a great conversation about. There's a bartender named Ann at Whistler's who made me my first drink in Austin.
What was it?
It was a white Negroni with mezcal and Grand Classico. Nice. It was Vita, is what she. Yeah,
which is great. And man, I'm not even gonna talk about the Grand Classico thing, but I claim that mix.
Do you really?
Yeah, the Grand Classico rinse 5 years ago.
Yeah,
because now it's blasphemous to me. As maybe we'll talk about mezcal, but that becomes a common theme in these conversations. Yeah. But obviously, Justin, even at that point, because I've known Justin for a bit now, he was looking to open his own place.
He was.
Back from Boulder, kind of here. Was he talking to you and saying, hey, I'm going to do this thing?
Well, so I ordered this cocktail through him, and he makes it for me. It was delicious. And so that's the moment when he and I start talking about drinks and spirits. And somebody had sort of whispered to me that he was thinking about doing his own thing at this point.
Well, it's on many people's radars before they even know it.
Before he had even purchased a space yet. Before he and Dennis had even purchased a space yet. So I kind of go on this crusade, right? And I played it real. I played it real cool. But every time I saw him, I was like, "Hey, man, you know what? Keep me updated. Yeah. I'm super interested." I don't have much experience in management, but I love this business. I love this business. Yeah. And I feel like
you wanted to make sure he knew.
I wanted to make sure that he knew that I was in the game.
Yes.
And that I was available. Right. And that I would make myself available whenever the time came.
He's the kind of guy to rally behind. He and Dennis both. I think.
Yeah. And I love them both for their own specific reasons.
Sure.
And
Laurel
so
and Hardy.
Yeah.
It's
Mom and Dad. Mom and Dad, Laurel and Hardy, however you want it. There's definitely
they're totally Mom and Dad.
For sure. Mom and Dad.
Yeah, totally. Mom and Dad.
So the same thing happens with Dennis. I meet Dennis at a Barman's Fund event. It was the daiquiri event at Midnight Cowboy.
Oh, okay.
So I meet him for the first time there. And I'm like, hey, Dennis, I hear that you're going to do this thing.
Right.
And I would love to just keep in touch with me. Keep
me on the short list.
Keep me abreast of the situation.
Right.
And so I continuously see them for the next month or so independently, never together. And then I just keep nudging.
That's intentional.
And
it's like a Clark Kent thing.
Yeah.
That you never see them in the same room.
Yeah. I still haven't seen them in the same room. I've never seen them in the same room.
But so they when did it cement? When did that relationship finally officialize, if you will?
So in January, Justin called me up and he's like, "Hey man, in a couple of days, you want to come over to?" We went over to Salt and Thyme, and I had a brief interview and a talk with them, and it didn't really feel like so much of an interview, as much as him saying, "Okay, so we're buying the space this week,
right?
Here's the deal," and he gave me the down low, and I said, hell yeah, let's do it.
That's great.
Let's do this.
Yeah, we were talking. Dennis and I go way back, and we talked about the space and this progress of the space. And so the space that they finally decided, which is really kind of two spaces, really, which was the Madison, and I can't remember what the other room was called.
Oh man,
previously.
Yeah, it was a number of things.
Yeah, it was totally a number of things.
Base O, and it was trailer park bar, and they had this really awful half of a car in the front of the room.
Yeah,
there was turf on the ground and stuff. It was
but suffice
awful.
it to say that the resulting, just what is really a recent rebuild, because there's still this larger de rigueur kind of concept and stuff, which I'll let Dennis talk about at some point. But you guys did a wonderful build out of the Roosevelt Room. That's the resulting the project now.
So we took on what was a miserably failed project.
Yeah.
A couple of guys opened up a bar when they built it without any permitting. So they peace out. They lose their license. They lose their CEO. So they 3 months in, they have to shutter. The last day that they are operating is New Year's Eve. We walk in and there's still confetti. It was
crazy.
Awful. So
quick turnaround.
They strip everything out of the bar except for this really awful honeycomb that's on the back bar. It's like the most impractical back bar I've ever seen in my life. I don't even know what they were thinking.
Probably not thinking.
Although I met recently the guy who built that thing. And super great guy.
Did he have any? Did you ask him that one question?
He was like, "I didn't design it. I just built it." He was
gotcha.
like, $10,000. I'll build you whatever you want.
Sure.
So
honeycombs done.
Yeah, done. And when we ripped them off the wall, I wanted to commend the guy because it was sturdy.
Really?
Sturdy. Yeah, it was a huge pain to get that thing off the wall. At any rate, so we end up with that. We end up with these red velvet banquettes that we've got to somehow manage, which is totally not our taste level.
Right, different aesthetic altogether. Because you're going from one clientele to another, really.
Yeah.
Totally different.
Totally different clientele.
Yeah.
And then this granite underlit bar. And that's all we've got, really. So we have to stock the entire thing out. And the reason why we were going to leave it and just operate the Madison for a while.
Right.
But somebody from... Are you familiar with hip hop, like 90s hip hop at all?
Yeah, no, it was Farside.
It was
there,
Farside,
right?
yeah. So one of the representatives
did Farside
for the
come up and say,
Farside,
"Hey guys, you need to fix this bar"?
Well, they walked in and they were like, "Oh, this would be a great space for a concert."
Yeah.
How would you guys feel about doing a showcase previous to South by Southwest?
Oh, this is before South by.
So we purchased in February, the very beginning of February, and we walk in and Brandon Benitez and a few other guys, to clean it. But so the guys from the Farside come in and they offer us an amount of money that we can't refuse.
I heard it was an obscene amount of money, actually.
It was a fair amount of money.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, we're all super huge hip hop fans, so we can't deny them just on principle alone. We've got to host them because that's like a notch in the hat that we just have to.
And you get to go and hang out.
Or notch in the belt or feather in the cap, whatever.
Sure.
But yeah, so it was great. And then directly after that, one of the guys from South by Southwest comes by and he's like, "Hey, we want to make you an official venue." So
that's great.
In roughly a month, we have to turn this place into a functional bar.
Wow.
And it was
functional.
It was functional,
sure, just
barely, but it was functional. And none of us got sleep for the month of February,
right?
But it worked. It worked. And then,
so this recent build out, which has the new sign, the chalkboard,
the new sign,
that was a separate post. South by
so
thing,
we
right?
we shut down after South by, and we didn't open again. We were going to open maybe as an event space.
Yeah.
But
from what I understand, that being a fully operational cocktail bar that you are now was not really
it wasn't in the game
plan.
Yeah. No, it was not in the game plan. But we kind of all mutually came to, or independently came to the conclusion that, well, if we're gonna run a bar, and why don't we just practice right now?
Right.
So we kind of opened the place 3 days a week to begin with, and we loved it. We had a really good time with it.
Good, like you guys got along. It's being creative, putting out good product.
Yeah, it was awesome. Finding staff though as every opening in Austin happened in like the same month was super difficult for us. But 3 days a week was awesome. I was there Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Also working at Eastside Showroom a couple days a week.
Are you still at Eastside?
No. We went 6 days a week from 5 to 2. Monday through Saturday, about a month back.
Yeah.
And
don't look back, just doing it all the time.
So we've totally jumped in, stripped that honeycomb off the wall, rebuilt our back bar, quadrupled our spirit selection.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Put up a 53 cocktail board that runs through 7 generations.
A chronological
cocktail board.
Yeah.
That runs.
Did you have any hand in that concept to break it by phase, chronological phase?
I think we actually all kind of sat down as a staff and had that conversation. What time periods we really wanted to separate, where it made sense to make the breaks, what cocktails we were going to put on the board. The most difficult, obviously, being Tiki,
sure,
and the Dark Ages, which is such an awesome name for an era.
It's
but
great.
It's so true. There's no information. Nothing's wrking down. Yeah. Resources are slim to none.
Would you consider it one of your favorite? Now, so give me some background on there. Jason came in and he was kind of talking about the eras of when things went Playboy, which I would think is the commoditization of cocktail making, which is not so different than now, actually.
Not so different.
Well, yeah. So what would you say are the dark ages of cocktails?
I would say probably 1950 through 1990s.
Yeah, see, that's what he was saying.
Yeah.
And so what happened then? Like what came to the surface? What kinds of things, what rumblings happened in the industry?
Just give me the booze and give it to me now.
And then get me out of there.
Yeah, and just just
no frills.
Mass consumption.
Sure.
Mass consumption. Just, I mean, you're talking about the 3 martini lunch happening at the time.
Yeah.
And you start switching away from taste. Just changed in general. You start switching away from drier taste into sweeter taste, and you end up with some pretty awful cocktails. I wouldn't even really call them drinks.
Harvey Wallbanger is good.
Freddie Fuddpucker, which is the tequila version of it, is not bad. Galliano has its place in history.
It certainly does. As a bottle to beat the hell out of people with. It's a wonderful bottle for
it's a baseball bat for a bottle for sure.
But what do you think? Like, I always think about, because cultural events and kind of sociology is what drives cocktail patterns, cocktail habits and stuff. So do you think that it was just that big business got into it? And they kind of said, well, this is how you do this and this? Or were people so fed up with big business and being marketed to that they said, I just want it simple. Give me your bourbon neat and get me on my way?
Well, I couldn't wager. I don't know. I think honestly, you end up with a bunch of guys coming back from World War II.
Yeah.
Who just want to drink.
Yeah.
They have to go back to their regular lives. They have to go back to their regular lives.
Absolutely.
They've got to operate businesses. So you end up with this whole generation of adult men who just want to put down some booze. Right. And so you end up with, these takes on the martini. But then as you get closer to the 1990s, I think because it was so much easier to put out and cheaper to put out and to make money off of things,
right?
To buy in. So you're gonna buy in grenadine. You're gonna buy in
lime.
You're gonna buy in
cordial,
lime. You're gonna buy in yeah. So all of these pre-packaged. You don't have to worry about prepping it. You can just pop the bottle top off and stick a speed pour in it and throw it in the glass.
Which we both know is obviously at the cost of quality.
It is absolutely,
because it just doesn't taste very good.
Yeah, absolutely. So you see cocktails digress.
Yeah,
thoroughly. And I think David Wondrich just said in Hey Bartender, he said, just give me the booze, give it to me now, and get me on my way.
Yeah.
So
smack me on the ass and get me out the door.
and food is doing the same thing at the time.
Oh, sure.
Fast food is really exploding.
That's the promulgation of fast food culture, right? Yeah. McDonald's is then. That's when it's born. Wendy's in the late 70s, 80s. So there is an interesting parallel, seemingly, between food and booze.
Yeah.
Where
the food and beverage culture...
inextricable. Like, they're linked. And so even now... people want to know, which is I think a great thing for small producers and people making things that have detailed, mezcal being a prime example where it comes from a place, it's done a particular way. These details are paramount to understanding why it's so beautiful. And food is the same way. It's like, well, what? Now you can go too far and take it to Portlandia sense, in which it's like you got to know its name, which train it was on, all these kinds of things. But
cocktails
people do care.
Over.
Right. But people care. And that positions a place like the Roosevelt Room perfectly.
It does.
To capture not only historically, but to capture in a sense of quality and showing what those pieces look like. And I think you guys have a really wonderful menu. I mean, I stopped in there finally the other night, and
I love it.
If I do a flight, but then I had to be dragged out of there.
Yeah. Somebody came in and he was like, I'm gonna do this like a playlist. I'm gonna do a by the era, and I said, well, I mean, I'll call you a cab, or
right?
Or you have somebody coming to pick you up, or what's the deal? Because I'll make you
said
all
50 plus, right?
There's 54, yeah. So you can probably handle. I don't know those old school Jerry Thomas ones, man. They're all
heavy-handed.
Yeah, they're all boozy stirred cocktails.
Sure.
I think you'd probably get through the first 5 and struggle, But
yeah. How's it feel being? So you think about coming out of academia, let's just call it that.
Yeah.
And you step into what is your own sense of academia, if you think about it.
Absolutely.
It's highly academic.
Absolutely.
And highly cerebral. The approach being a chronological mixology bar, God forbid I use the word, but like being around Dennis, who thinks so much. Dennis thinks so much. And then Justin, who just executes, you get this interesting group of people.
It's really a nice balance. And I'm immensely proud to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go on record right now. thank you, Justin. Thank you, Dennis, for the opportunity.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
To be part of something so wonderful.
What do you think?
I don't know what I would have. I don't know. I really don't know where I would have gone if I didn't have that direction.
I'm sure you made it work, though.
Yeah,
and that's the best part. Like, what do you think? Because obviously, not anybody can just get to work with those guys. They do have a keen eye for detail and talent and stuff. So, causing you to introspect for a moment, what was that thing that they knew you brought to the table?
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you. I don't know if it was them being comfortable enough around me to just the way that we interacted together. They felt like you can teach a monkey to make a cocktail.
Sure.
You really can. But it's how well do you work with this person? Yeah. How do they see this the same way that you do? Are they like-minded?
Yeah.
Are you all like-minded? And I think that we're all like-minded. Mm-hmm. I mean, we bicker over font and
aesthetics.
Aesthetics.
God only I can't even imagine what that room is like, trying to get you guys on the same page for a cocktail build.
Yeah. Well, for the build, that stuff. See, that's the easy stuff.
Was it
the build? That's what I mean as far as being like-minded is, do we want to all do this thoroughly the right way?
Right.
The right way.
Whatever that
quoting, whatever that means. The classic way.
Yeah.
To the original spec, are we gonna do a gimlet with house-made lime cordial? Mm-hmm. Are we gonna do it with lime and simple syrup?
Right.
So we made our own lime cordial because that's what the spec called for. It was lime cordial.
Tastes better too.
It does taste better.
Tastes a lot better.
Yeah, that drink is great.
Once you start getting oil, like actual oils and essences in there that are natural, there's a depth that you can't get otherwise.
I mean, the original was roses, but I mean, and
cringed a little.
That's a great story, though. That's a great story.
Yeah,
yeah. It was just a way for sailors to get their bit of citrus.
Yeah. No, see, that makes sense.
But
utilitarian going back.
Yeah, they gave them roses and they gave them rum. Mm-hmm. But the upper echelon of the officers were like, well, because we're bougie British guys, we're going to drink gin instead. So
there's the wonderful story that brings us to Navy strength that I tell all the time.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah. So I think they were just looking for somebody who they could get along with, and who was going to be willing to put in the hours and want to do it the same way.
Yeah.
And I think that.
How's reception been so far? Not to cut you off. How's reception been? I think it's been. I saw a great story. I've seen.
Yeah, I mean,
Zagat or Zagat, whatever. Mm-hmm. Actually, it's Zagat.
Top 15.
Yeah, top 15,
which is awesome. There's been a few Thrillist bits there.
Yeah.
I mean, Dennis did 30 under 30 last year. Right. Justin got 30 under 30 this year. It's
some celebrities.
Yeah, I feel like I'm I'm literally working for Mr. GQ, which is pretty cool.
Exactly
That's
right,
awesome. Yeah, and then there's Justin's most imaginative bartender in North America 2015, which is
a brilliant title for him.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, he competed against some really amazing bartenders, and that I couldn't imagine that. I mean, that is like some of the most exhausting days of probably his career, I think.
How is that for you? Do you see yourself getting into that game, the
competition game?
Yeah.
No,
You're not that egotistical.
I don't yeah, I wouldn't say that. I don't know. I'm not that competitive anymore. I did that for so long,
and it's what burnt you out.
It burnt me out, man. It just doesn't. It's not. I don't think where my heart lies.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of fun. Like I did the Bourbon Bluegrass Barbecue.
Yeah.
That was so much. That was a lot of fun, man. It was really great to be in the same room. You got like
everybody.
You've got Ryan Floyd. You've got actually
Adam
the guy Scott Birch, who won that competition, worked with me at Foundation in Raleigh.
No kidding.
Yeah. So that's full circle there, which is pretty cool. He won that competition. It was a great cocktail.
Very cool.
You got JR and Samantha. The whole room really. Samantha and Elizabeth Powell. Who I'm gonna miss you, Elizabeth. I didn't really know you for all that long, but she was a great member of the community here.
Yeah,
it just moved off to Portland.
Well, Portland's lucky, of course.
For sure. Yeah.
Speaking of Portland, though, all of our mates are in Portland this week.
Portland Cocktail Week.
Yeah. How did you make a plea to get out there?
I didn't apply. Yeah. No. That was coming from North Carolina. The USBG was in Chapel Hill, not in Raleigh. And we were so close in proximity that they wouldn't let us have our own chapter, even though we had like 6 bars and 6 cocktail lounges, 5 cocktail lounges in Raleigh. So none of us really heard about any of this stuff.
Gotcha.
We all just sort of like learned on the job and taught ourselves by reading books and whatnot.
You gotta love that though.
Yeah,
that's where the best artists are made.
Yeah,
fending for themselves,
self-made, which was awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I didn't really even hear about it until Justin was like, "Hey, did you put in an application?" And I was like, "For
what?
For what?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Portland Cocktail Week, dude." It's like, no, what? And please inform me. Yeah. I have no idea what that is.
I know Dennis is out. Is Justin out there as well?
No, Justin.
He's not. He's in town.
Yeah, somebody had to stick around. Somebody had to stick around with running the 2 bars.
Right.
I mean, I can only work so many hours in one bar, and then there's bottle service on Saturdays at the Madison, which is a whole different animal.
Oh,
and
man,
Justin crushes that. I can't even imagine doing that. I mean, that's absolutely out of my league.
Mm-hmm.
But so yeah, he had to stick around to help make sure the place was running all right while Dennis went off and gallivanted about in Portland.
Gets to talk about himself. I think he's doing a class, right?
Yeah,
or he's a cabin leader.
He's doing
or whatever.
the master's program. I think he's the head of numerous bartenders from the region.
Very cool. It's a great experience.
Yeah, I hope to do that next year.
I think I'm you're on the track to do it.
Yeah, it'll be fun. There's a lot of stuff that I'm going to handle in the next year. Bar 5.
Right.
Probably Portland Cocktail Week. I actually did apply for San Antonio Cocktail Conference. But I applied as a volunteer, not for a grant.
Gotcha. Okay.
Just because I'm a glutton for punishment, and I can't ever stop working.
No, that's a good thing, man.
And I always like to experience things from the operations standpoint.
Right. Does that mean that, in 2 to 5 years, that you're going to use these skills you learned about economy and scaling and utility? Are you going to open up your own place? Is that even something you want to
do? Well, I'm not sure. I think at this point, working with Justin and Dennis is going to lead to quite a bit of growth.
Sure.
Obviously, growth in knowledge, but also growth as a company together.
I think so.
And so we'll see where that goes. I think first, before I start worrying about my own stuff, I think probably in the next few years, I would hope that our company would get to the point where it's not going to just be their places, but some of my own ideas would be mixed in as well.
I think so.
So really, I think the opportunity for my own place would be kind of a part of the deal.
Yeah,
I would hope, but we'll see. And if it's not, and I learned quite a bit from those guys, then I think I'll be in the position to probably be at the point where I can financially, afford to do that in addition to what I'm doing with them. So we'll see.
So suffice it to say, though, that Austin seems like a pretty good mix for you.
It does.
Good match.
Yeah. I moved out here. Within a month, I met somebody wonderful. We moved in together in February.
Yeah.
And
to make it easier having that love.
Yeah.
Fuck it, man. Like, I know I listen to other podcasters and stuff, and they're so reticent to talk about how important love is in their life. Probably because they're damaged and been, through all these other things. Like, I've got an ex-wife and stuff too. Like, we've all gone through shit, but like, love is a really powerful force in all that.
It is. And it's not a distraction. Like, so many people go into this thinking, I have to do this on my own.
Right.
And it's anything else is just a distraction.
Why?
But why? I mean, I feel so fortunate to be able to work. I mean, while they were both gone, I was working, or while Justin was gone fairly recently in New York doing some stuff with Wall Street Journal.
Yeah, I saw that interview.
They
both had as much makeup on, finally.
Yeah.
The interviewing just shiny and bright.
Yeah,
it was great.
Yeah. He looked great.
Yeah.
He looked great. But yeah, I mean, I was working like 75-hour work weeks for a couple of weeks, and it's hard. That's hard when you spend so much time away from somebody. And Dennis and I relate on that very, very well, because he's got Stacy.
Yeah.
So yeah, he and I relate very, very well on that. But the best part of the day every time was being able to go home and get in bed and cuddle up to somebody. I really can't explain how much being able to work not just for myself but for somebody else encourages me to get out of bed every day. Yeah, it does. Absolutely,
it's a brilliant thing, man. And in a short time, you've managed to leave a really good imprint in Austin so far, and I can't wait to see what happens.
Me too,
working with those guys. Obviously, you're a really intelligent guy. You think about the details of things. You're always looking to see what's next and how to push the envelope. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Me too. Yeah. I can't wait.
And thanks so much for spending some time with me, Alex. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you, Mike.
Appreciate
you.
See ya. Yeah. What a nice guy, right? It's great chatting with Alex. Alex hasn't been in Austin that long. I think he was saying he celebrated his 1-year anniversary, but it feels like he's been here much longer than that. Like he's already left a little bit of an imprint, and I can't imagine that we're not going to see a lot more from him, whether he's opening up his new bar, competing, wearing a good suit. There's lots to learn from Dennis and Justin over there at the Roosevelt Room, and I think you got a massively effective trifecta of guys over there. So thanks again for listening to Show to V. But no matter what happens today, no matter what happens tomorrow, just remember, keep dancing.